And hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Copter Cast, the only video game show. So yeah, happy Pride Month, everyone. We're at the tail end of June right now, and just because.
It's time for another video game. Hello!
Yeah,
Queer video games.
I'm joined once again by Carolyn, who has been on both of my shows so far. And yeah, they're like more Marvel than most of the people I know.
I'm marvelous. That's what you meant to say. I'm marvelous.
Yeah. So yeah, it's so
We're talking Pride Month video games.
video games about Pride Month, although there has to be at least four by now. But yeah, like yeah, representation has become more and more of a thing, as it should be, in like all forms of media, and video games is no exception. And unfortunately, as literally anyone who's like played video games or or just been on the internet knows that, obvious it's getting pushback from like the literal worst people. But we're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk about, some of the good. We will address some of like the less than good things, just because I feel like it would be a mistake not to. But also some of the very good things, because video games are good,
There's
and it's
progress made. There's progress. Video games are good. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You should take that line again.
yeah, video games are good.
So let's take a second and talk about what queerness looks like, at least within as far as we are comfortable with. For me, the ideal queer video game character is completely a part of the story and their presence is never questioned. It's not a big shining, you know, farting unicorn farting rainbows, big cool, big marshmallows, whatever. It's just a character who, has the option to fall in love with the same sex, fall in love with the opposite sex, to have gender neutral pronouns, to have specific gender pronouns and then change them halfway through the game. Um, and I think that video games are rapidly getting better about that, at least as far as player characters are concerned. But do you think that there are characters in video games that are widely known, or how do you think, what does queerness in video games look like to you, my friend?
Well, I mean, I've only just started. Well, it's not that I've not paid attention to it over the years. It's just that I don't know. It's only in the recent years I've actually started to look into it, just because, like, as the years have gone on, I realized that because, like, video games have gone from just, like, one of the things I do to being, like, the favorite thing that I do when I'm, like, not at work or doing an important thing. So I've just been paying attention to that more and just thinking back and just thinking back on some of the examples that were probably there, and I just wasn't paying attention to it from some of my video games back in the day. And yeah, I mean, I like to think it. I mean, considering like some of the games that have been released like just in the past few years, I'd say it has gotten better. Some of it has gotten better, mostly from studios who know what they're doing and not by. And some of the big studios are still just tripping, even though there's at times giant, loud neon signs that say "Don't go here."
Mm,
Yeah.
I think the big thing about queer characters in video games is that there's so many missteps and there are so many ways that they could go wrong, like you said. You know, big signs saying "Don't go here," or falling into very specific tropes that stigmatize the community as opposed to anything else. But before we get into all that, because I definitely have something to say about a recent video game controversy, um, that my friend here was very kind to point out. Let's talk about some of our favorite queer characters. So my original idea when I pitched this accidentally on the last time that Debbie and I were together was I wanted to celebrate the queer characters in media and in video games. Do you have favorites? Any favorites?
A few. Well, like the first one is the most obvious to anyone who's known me since I was 13, because when I was 13 years old, I got like I've like gabbed about this to you last time. But
Mm-hmm.
when I was on my 13th birthday, I got a copy of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door for the GameCube, and it mostly because like until 3 years later, when I actually started like working, that was pretty much one of the only games I had. And one of my favorite characters was Vivian, who's the partner, like the fifth partner you get in the game around chapter 4, and in pretty much every version of the game except the American version, because of course,
Mm-hmm.
like Vivian is like explicitly a transgender woman, and like most of the like almost all the insults leveled against her, like, put by one of her sisters who was like a secondary antagonist in the game. They explicitly just misgendering her. I mean, if you look up Vivian's article in Super Mario Wiki, like a truly terrifyingly thorough like online source of Nintendo information, you can find like the specific like language that
I'm looking
is
at
used.
this. I'm looking at it right now, and all I gotta say is she's cute. Like
Yep,
this is a cute. She's a cutie. She's such a cutie. I can't believe anybody would misgender her.
this is also just my favorite character design wise, just because of the purple and like the stripedy hat, and just like mechanically, she's also one of the best because like pretty much all of her attacks like do fire damage. So even her like basic attack, if it just does like two or three, it does like burn damage for a few turns, which can come in handy when you're swarmed by lots of little tiny enemies. She can like hide. She can basically like bow from the first Paper Mario game. Like one of her abilities is she can hide, basically just avoid all damage for the turn. That's just hand. I just love that, and yeah. Let's see what else. I can't. I can't find this anymore. But there's this like my favorite piece of fan art is like a picture of Vivian and like my other favorite like character, one of my other favorite characters from Thousand Year Door, Madame Fleury, who is just like I don't know, just the best. Just a like she's a purple busty cloud lady who is like a retired Broadway star, which means Broadway exists in Mario World. And like there's just a fan art picture of like her just like I think braiding Vivian's hair, and that's just like my favorite thing. And I wish I could find it anymore, but the internet is cruel.
This is see. I'm going to confess something to everybody listening to this. I stopped my Mario with Super Mario Brothers in the pixelated version. So working with Debbie has been great because I now know that Broadway stars and that Mario has transgender characters, and I have a new appreciation for the franchise. I have a really big new appreciation for the franchise. Um, let's see. So I got hooked. I think favorite um my favorite recent very queer game is called Best Friend Forever. Now this released last year, and I always say forever, but I call it forever. And it's basically the queerest dating sim that you're ever gonna find. And you adopt a dog, and you basically fall in love with one of the locals. And all of the locals are super fun, and all of the dogs are super fun. It's literally just dating with dogs, and it's super gay. You can do any pronouns, you can look any way that you want, and nobody judges you. And it's just really engaging and enjoyable because the characters are very creative. Now, there's obviously things that they could do to improve upon. It got very positive reviews, but they could always expand the world a little bit more as far as the human characters, and add more dogs and stuff. But for a good chunk for a chunk of 2020, for a tiny chunk of 2020, I absolutely adored um Best Friend Forever, and adopting all the little dogs and changing their names and meeting hot singles and locals who just didn't care that my pronouns were they them. And you can change your pronouns and change your name, and just live your best life.
Yeah. My other favorite, which I just remembered just now, is this is from a while back when the show was, I think, like barely a year old or even less than a year old. Was 2064 read-only memories. Like a combination like visual novel-ish, like point and click 'em up, and is it was created by a company that is just pretty much all the staff is just like explicitly LGBT plus. All the characters in the game are like the little robot you have, like their name is Turing, based off of Alan Turing from back in ye olde times. And like you can actually like choose your player character's pronouns, just like, or even just make up a custom set, and just like every character in the well, every character that isn't explicitly an antagonist, I think, is either like non-heterosexual, non-cisgender, or both, and it's just really lovely. And just like I think a year or so after the game released, they did a super big mega update where they just like voiced all the roles because it originally wasn't voiced, and like all of the characters, like just the voice actors really just bring it, and it's awesome. And yeah, it's like you said in Best Friend Forever, it's just, you know, the ideal end goal for everything about this. We're just everyone's absolutely cool with it, and it's just a fact of life rather than just an unfortunateness in the eyes of some of the bad people.
I'm looking at this game right now, y'all, and it actually sounds really, really cool. You're a journalist in 2064 Neo San Francisco, California, and like
Hmm.
you have a personal assistant robot named Turing, and there's all these different locals that you get to play against. Like, I may have to download this. This looks really good.
It
Like, this actually
was
looks super dope.
I interviewed three of the people who worked on the game, and it was just great.
Yay! yeah,
Yeah,
pass on support to them from me because this actually looks really good. Um,
yeah, and just another character of. I mean, did you what? Do you have another one? I guess we can alternate.
I think alternating would be good.
Okay.
So I mean, and this is the great part about this is because you learn different characters and you learn different games, and this is why it's cool, guys. Is that you get to hear about other queer characters and other queer games. I think my next one that I'm going to put on this list because I sent Debbie a list, and I am going to uh, save one of mine for a question later in the show. But I think my second one is going to be Hades. From Hades game. Yes, yes, hold your groans because everybody's played it. Sob. Um, but Hades is one of the as a trans masculine person, I really appreciate seeing trans masculine individuals who get to be soft, males who get to be softer and who kind of get to do those things. And Hades is not a soft boy, quote unquote, cough cough, but he is not. Cerberus is a soft boy, and Achilles is a soft boy, and the rest of the team is. But Hades' son, Zagreus, is not a soft boy at all either. And him living in the shadow of his dad, him dating different characters. Zagreus of the Hades game is the character that I'm talking about. And if you have not played Hades, which I believe was up there as a game of the year, um, definitely get ye on that and introduce yourself to Zagreus and the chorus of soft boys who are not his father or him. And just, again, it really comes down to that this is just a fact of life. I mean, granted, it's Greek, and everybody in Greek be gay. Everybody in Greece back then, in the time of the gods, man, the gods just did not care. Um, so it just goes from there. So that's my second.
Okay. And yeah, my next one, just because, like, and if anyone just accuses me of being like biased in Nintendo's favor, you're right. I guess one of my next ones, I can't even remember how I came across this like information, and like I guess make of this information what you will, but hold on, where is the specific quote? Oh yeah, this is from oh Lord, a while back. I guess in reference to, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, which at that time had recently come out for the Wii U, and this is one of my favorite things. And yeah, Mr. Hayashida like told GameStop. I'm reading from a Kotaku article. Like in reference to Toadette, and like the toad species in general. He says, like, this may be a little bit of a strange story, but we never really went out of our way to decide on the sex of these characters, even though they have somewhat gendered appearances. And like a lot of people who like wrote articles about this little factoid, like hypothesized that, the toad race, they like just take on the gendered characteristics of whatever civilization they happen to find themselves in to fit in. And I just like take make of like I'm not sure, like some people might argue about whether or not that counts, but just I like to count just because like Captain Toad and like Toadette are like two of my new favorite video game characters. Just
Okay.
because like I don't know, I always loved Toadette's design and just the fact that in like what was at the time a recent 3DS game, she was capable of building like entire mechs out of cardboard. I don't know. I like to count it.
She's no, and that's cute. I think Japan, well, I don't want to say Japan is more understanding. I don't think any country really is understanding of queer characters, or at least tries to be supportive. But they're very understanding of story, and they just and as long as it's a good story, um I think that uh and even if it's just a toss-up thing, like here, I have a story. It's not about a video game, but when she mentions, when my co-host here today mentioned, um are you okay with me calling you Debbie?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Okay. When my dear Debbie here mentioned mentioned Toadette, um, I should have asked ahead of time. When my dear Debbie mentioned Toadette, I thought of a story, ironically, from the Walt Disney Company. Now, Walt Disney Company, that's obviously, she mentioned I'm much more marvelous than anybody could ever realize, and Mickey Mouse is my jam, and the person I work for, and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But there's actually a story about a letter that was unearthed from the Walt Disney Archives, and it is all about how to draw. Um, it's all about how to draw
Hmm.
Donald and Daisy Duck. And joke or not, I don't know if you might remember or have heard about this, but it relates to Toad and Toadette because it's about the difference between it's just, it was a funny joke, and I'm trying to figure out if this actually um hang on a second. No, because yeah, this was a big deal. Okay, so there was a joke a while back and it's either a joke or it was real, and I can't remember if this was ever disproven or not, but it's two things about Donald Duck. Okay,
Hmm.
now we are talking about how Toadette, and they were like, we never really specified the sex of these characters. Walt Disney comes out with this joke, real or not, about Donald Duck. So Donald Duck lays his own eggs, and he uses male pronouns, and he lays his eggs. Male ducks do not lay eggs. But Walt, engaging with these characters, also posted a letter that reminded me of what Debbie just said. Just wanted to clear up a small misconception I've been hearing from some of the staff that Daisy Duck is Donald's wife. Daisy has a bow on his head, but he is male just like Donald, not female. Donald is Daisy's father and lays his egg for food, but Daisy hatched immediately and escaped before Donald could eat it. Now, Daisy is too big to fit in Donald's mouth, but Donald still wants to swallow him more than anything. Other than that, I'm very proud of the work everyone is doing. Keep it up. So I think that there's two things that we can take here. One, technically, let's look at the difference here. That's clear. There's parts of that that could clearly be interpreted as positive representation. I mean, if a guy wants to wear a bow on his head, let a guy want to wear a bow on his head. If a guy wants to use male pronouns and wear high heels, then do that. If you want to specifically not state the sex of the character, like with Toadette, you don't state the sex of the character with Toadette. Walt's clearly joking here. Um, and you look at the difference between the two. You see Toadette's actually a very positive representation in animation and video games, because but that's the difference, you guys. You see, that's where the difference comes in, and that's what Debbie, you made me think of, was the Donald Duck letters from Walt Disney. And Japan, I guess, is much calmer and just doesn't care, which is why they're great.
All right then.
Yeah, was that a weird tangent?
No, it was fine. I was gonna go on a vaguely similar one about Blue's Clues.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, why not? It's my show.
Yeah, I'm like, now I want to hear this.
I mean, so it starts like, and I can't really remember when the it's like with two videos. I can't remember when the first of the two was posted, just because the past year and a half, like time has been blurred together, and just just trying to keep track of when a thing happened is a nightmare. But like Blue's Clues and like Blue and like the latest person to host the show, Josh. cousin of Steve and Joe. Also, Steve is a private eye now. It's important to me that all of you at home know that. But they're doing this like. Let me see if I can actually find the picture. So they're just doing just a regular standard ABC song, and hold on, and just as I'm saying this, I'm sending it to you in the chat, and then like when they got to E for everybody, they just they just showed like just a wide variety of body types, just like of all kinds, like and just like short, small, light skinned, dark skinned, people with prosthetic limbs, a person in a wheelchair using a cast, and in the E for everyone, they use like actual skin color.
Ooh, okay.
And then there's just like this part just got to me just because I know like a lot of the people commenting about this were like me, grew up with Blue's Clues, and they got to pee for pride, and then they showed this image, which I think seeing right now,
Yes.
in which they
Oh.
showed just a whole bunch of like the pride flags, and as many people have pointed out, like accurate and up to date versions of the pride flags that have like been updated over the years, and you know, like, then just Blues Clues just hit you with just hit you in the face with the frying pan of like good feelings, and which it actually list it's like it's a pride parade, an actual like honest to goodness, like no subtext or anything pride parade, but just cute animals because it's Blue's Clues. And
Mm-hmm.
hold on, trying to see finding out who sings it. Blue's Clues Pride Parade. Now I found it. It says, the Blues Clues Pride Parade sing along with drag star Nina West celebrating LGBTQ families, and Nina has been just like cartoonified to fit with like the cartoon aesthetic of like the parade, but it's just I don't know. They actually use the correct terms and the correct like up to date and like modern terms. Like they use like just like the classic rainbow pride flag, and also like the up to date like the updated pride flag with the triangle on it, and I'm looking at this literally right now, but like the cartoony microphone that Nina's holding has like the raised fist that has been used as like a visual motif in like the Black Lives Matter movement. And when you get a chance, watch it because it's just really beautiful, and just a lot of like some of the other people I followed on Twitter
Mm-hmm.
have just posted like, "Hey, this is like one." Let me see if I can find them. Well, I can't find. I'm not gonna watch the whole 3 minutes right now, just because otherwise I would get distracted. But another person I followed on Twitter would be like, "Hey, this like explicitly queer character is like using this like particular type of wheelchair that I use,"
Mm-hmm.
and I don't. It's just really great, just because it's Blue's Clues. Just a show I've grown up with, a show that I've loved when I was a small Debbie,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, just Blue's Clues brings it. It brings
And
it,
it's
and it brings it well.
Exactly. And I think that's a good segue into me bringing it. So we have the difference between cartoons, and we have the difference between, we have the difference between good representation and bad representation
Mm.
in both cartoons and anime and just in general for Queer Month. And so Debbie brought up this lovely, actually, like I'm literally probably as soon as we're done recording, gonna go look this up. She brought up this lovely example of what it should be, which is, encouraging people to examine this stuff, or, encouraging people to, see it, and that's how people feel. People know themselves. As opposed to, say, my example of Walt Disney, where it's like, oh, this is clearly a joke, even though, that's a thing that people do. Donald Duck is just a duck. There's no, the cute little cartoon characters of Disney, yeah, they don't have relationships, but it's pretty explicitly stated that, they still are interested in each other. So it's like, why couldn't Daisy or Minnie, put on pants or do anything like that? But so there's good and bad representation, and I think that it's a good time to talk briefly about queer characters being the villains in video games in particular, but also in
Mm-hmm.
um, in video games in particular. So because one of my biggest examples that I made a list again and I sent it to Debbie was Monica from Doki Doki Literature Club. And
Mm-hmm.
Monica's basically, it has a very positive message, which is, I don't care who you are, I still love you. So she's technically classified as panromantic and bi. But she's a villain. So she's literally like, I love you, but I'm gonna go yandere and I'm gonna just, make sure that you are only mine and no one else's.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about, and you think about how the queer community, Bowser, I mean Bowser, that's my whole response. You think about the queer,
Bowser.
I do too. But all we've had are like, villainous examples. What do you think of that? I mean, we love the villains and we embrace them. I think that's a sign. What I think is it's a sign of strength, but it feels different when it's a cute little parade with cartoon characters. Would you agree?
Yeah, I haven't. It might just be that I haven't really looked, but I myself in the games that I've played haven't noticed, a lot of the villains either being queer or queer coded, but as long as we're talking about, representation that's less than good, I do have an example that was stuck a bit in my mind just because like two of like the video game people whose work I follow, like Laura Kate Dale and Gerard Khalil, the completionist, have like brought it up. It's in the video game Catherine.
Okay.
So, just
I have
long
not played
story,
Catherine.
yeah, long
So
story short, you play as dude Vince, who's a bit of a deadbeat boyfriend with his girlfriend Catherine with a C. And then he meets this like young bubbly Catherine with a K because the game's called Catherine. And I guess in like the recently released version, there's also like a Catherine with a Q, but like I haven't paid attention much to the new version, and apparently there's like a whole third storyline. Anyway, not important. So just the shtick, and people watching at home who are familiar with this or familiar with this type of thing might be able to tell where I'm going, but the shtick of the game is that the dudes and only dudes like are basically dragged into a nightmare world where because video games have to solve a bunch of like pushy block puzzles and climb to the top of the tower, or they get ate by nightmares and never wake up again, like some sort of very elaborate Freddy Krueger thing. And
mhm.
then and just later on, like one of the regular supporting characters, because it's made by the Persona people, so it's like part gameplay, part you walking around the bar you always hang out with, doing like just regular talk to the NPC things. And and then there's the waitress there, Erica, and like and then as the plot, as you actually realize that there's some sort of sinister plot going around, you realize that she's also having the nightmares, but there's a bit of a problem with that, where it's like extends. Well, not really extensively, but near the end of the game, it's realized that she is also transgender, and
Mm-hmm.
some people have pointed out, he ever so just the thing that raises pretty much every eyebrow that Erica is like trapped in some sort of nightmare realm that has been explicitly noted to affect dudes and only dudes. And Laura Kate Dale and Gerard Khalil also just like basically in like their articles and videos respectively are like the hell, like pointing out like how just like how that's like 13 different flavors of wrong. And when I figured that out, I like considering like the way the story is structured is like it's disappointing but not surprising considering how it basically treats just people and relationships in general, and not just explicitly like queer ones. So that's and they think they try and balance it out like in the new version of the game because it's one of those like new releases where it's pretty much the same game, but they add like a whole bunch of content to it for the story. But that's immediately my go-to in like bad representation in games.
Um, no, yeah. And I think that I don't think Monica is necessarily bad representation, but I think that sometimes I don't know. I want better. I don't want to be able to pick. I don't know. I don't want to be able to have pick villains. Like I want to mix both. I want
Hmm.
spectrum, a broad spectrum of choices. Although this does lead there's a good thing. This does lead into something, Debbie. I think it's time. I
And
think
by all means, yes, you have the floor.
I think it's time for me to talk about Scott Cawthorn and
Hmm.
Five Nights at Freddy's. So Debbie was a huge friend and brought to my attention the controversy surrounding that game. Now I have been a fan. I'm old. Okay, I'm old. But I've been a fan of the game since its conception. I just haven't been open about it. And when COVID-19 happened, I was just like, fuck it. Life's short. I'm gonna like what I like. And I like creepy animatronics. I work at a place that's full of creepy animatronics, and I need that released, It's like, I need somebody to talk about how creepy it is because if you just sit there and you mention it to people, they're just gonna be like, yeah, and I mean, and so people delving into that meant a lot to me. So Debbie messaged me and she explained the what I will call the controversy from now on.
Hmm.
And simply put, that the controversy was that the creator of a massive beloved franchise had donated to that is basically nothing but gay furry porn. Absolutely nothing. No, because the human beings are sort of like there, and it's like, you get Michael and you get William and you get everybody, they're like, hi, and then it's like, hi, shoves us aside. Let's get all the rabbits and the cute little cartoon characters and everybody else in there, and let's just have the focus be on these people. And it's just it is so charming and so fun, and to have somebody, I have to give the man credit. I have to give the man credit about one thing, and here's that thing. Often we talk about how um you have to separate your art, your personal beliefs from the work that you do. The work that you do, that you put out, if you tie it into your personal beliefs, are you sending a message, or is it just telling a story? Like, do you want to influence people to your point of view, which kind of sucks, or are you just telling a story? And the thing that is a really shitty thing that terrible people can do is that they don't put their terrible people, good storytellers do, is that they don't put their messages into the stuff that they do. You know, the creator of FNAF never put his beliefs into the game because, you know, it never affected you. You just wanted to tell a story about spooky critters and scaring people and shit and a creepy restaurant. And I loved that. And then it turns out that in real life, you know, he was supporting. I have very few lines that I will cross, and you know, I am willing to forgive quite a bit as far as actors go, and I'm willing to keep my opinions and my beliefs to myself and defend people who feel threatened and assaulted and end my association with those things to protect people's safe spaces and emotions. I have very few personal lines, but one of the lines that I do have that is very, very firm is the support of the previous president of the United States. I cannot, in good conscience, and anybody who supported him, I cannot, in good conscience, support in any capacity anything created by any people who supported that individual. That is my choice. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry,
That's
I have a
fine.
lot of feelings about this. I loved the game, and I still love the game, and I'm struggling with the fact that this person who I disagree with and who I think extremely less of for making these decisions feels this way about my life as a gay person, feels this way about his fans. I mean, yeah, I don't agree with the doxing. I don't agree with that. Obviously, I think that one of the weirdly unifying things about the internet is that everybody agrees, you know, what happens on the internet must stay on the internet. I just think that's weirdly unifying. Um, Even though nobody really follows that at all, but everybody makes good lip service, I guess. So it, but I'm struggling. I got rid of a ton of my like almost all of my FNAF stuff. I'm probably gonna get rid of the rest of it. I still want to support the fan creators. I still want to still want to play the game. I still love the story, and I
Mm-hmm.
love I love the fact that it's created like the community, the way that people rallied around this, like with the tapes and the games and the playthroughs, and just, you know, people really took this idea and ran with it. And I just, the fact that the guy, you know, don't threaten the man, don't threaten anybody over, you know, if you find, if I hate that the circumstances beyond that, like I have to ask myself, like, did that really happen? I hate that that is a question that I have to ask myself. I shouldn't have to ask myself, did somebody really, you know, find out all that kind of stuff about you? Um, but I do, and I just keep it to myself. And I don't know. What do you think? What's your take?
It's about this,
Yeah,
about the FNAF and everything.
yeah. The controversy.
Um, I mean, just everyone's favorite trash girl from the gender dumpster, which is my new favorite sentence. James Stephanie Sterling like has covered it in like their video just like a few weeks ago. Just I don't know, like, yeah, a lot of people love the games and just even if they just like delete them off their computer forever, there's always that one part of you that still will. But just the fact of the matter is that Scott Cawthorn is directly donating money that's making life actual hell for
Mm-hmm.
for LGBT plus people just like all over the place and just like pretty much I'm willing to bet literally every other demographic of people.
Mm-hmm.
Just
No,
yeah.
he backed. I mean, he backed a man that literally spent that is literally responsible for the deaths of 400,000. Like not even 400,000. He backed a man whose inaction, incompetence, lies, mistruths, falsehoods, shitty behavior, monstrous attitudes. He backed a man who, at the very least, cost of the United States, millions of lives. It's coming up to 1 million. And I can't. You have to ask yourself. It's like for people listening, it's like, oh well, he didn't put any of those values into the games. No, it's not about that. It's that if you donate money to people, even if you donate money to causes and you think that that's to oppressive causes, and you think, oh, I'm not doing any harm, I'm not actually oppressing people, I'm not going out and I'm not using gay slurs and I'm not doing this or anything like that, I support the community, I just think that this politician has good ideas and blah blah blah. No, silent oppression is still oppression. Silent oppression is still oppression. My money, I have to live with the fact that my money that I spent on this hyperfixation of mine went to oppressing people, not just like me, but people in my life who are trans like me, people, to my friends who are gay, to me who is gay, to literally sitting across from somebody. The money that I spent on this, it hurt people because he fucking gave it away. And all I don't know. I think the best thing that I'm going to do in this situation is just, Security Breach is dead to me. And I was really fucking excited for that game because I was hoping we were going to get some answers. Security Breach is dead to me. I don't know. It's amazing, Debbie. It's amazing how this video game franchise just emerged from nothing. It just came out of the darkness and it inspired so many fan works. Just wow, where did it come from? How did it disappear so quickly after Pizzeria Simulator? What the fuck happened? Why is this? How did that? That's crazy. Like, it wasn't made by anybody. Wow, that's amazing. So it's been a if game creators, if indie devs. Also, I'm looking at you, Meatly. The Meatly, I know, man. If please don't turn out to be an asshole. I don't know if my poor heart could take Bendy and the Ink Machine being made by an asshole. Please don't turn out to be an asshole. Because after Minecraft and after this and just it. So yeah, basically like read with caution. When it comes to video games, like really ask yourself, does this person who created this thing, and you shouldn't have to. It sucks that you have to kind of screen shit. But in the world that we live in order to keep moving forward to a place where we're equal, we have to screen it. So I'm not going to tell people how to celebrate. I'm really not. Like, I still follow specifically fan creators, nobody who profits off of it. And I love seeing fan art and I love seeing fan work. But anybody who directly makes profit off of it that's not a fan is dead to me, and the games are dead to me. And it really sucks because I was all set to pre-order a PS5 for Security Breach, and now I'm just going to try and find other games that I was hyped for. Literally, I did not. I'm so mad, Debbie. I'm so glad you told me, but I'm so fucking mad.
Oh, I've been there.
I cried. You've been there? This happened to you?
Oh, I wouldn't say I got upset about it. Well, I did get upset about it, but not like viscerally angry, because like we know just on the off chance that this channel ever becomes popular and like these videos end up getting like exploding in terms of large numbers of views. Like, I don't even have to say her name, but a certain author of a certain fiction series who turned out to have some questionable things. Like, I couldn't read the books anymore. Like, I literally couldn't read the books anymore. Just like look at any of the merchandise in the stores I go to a whole bunch. Just gave my books of that series away, and just Like you said, like I those are the book like those books are the ones that made me like I used to not be a person reading used to not be just a thing I enjoyed doing very often, but I remember reading those books, like staying up late in the summer times, just like reading those books and getting lost in the pages. I remember like being like wicked excited when I found out that like one of those books in the series is close to like 900 pages of text. And just, yeah, just I'm genuinely sad. I've since found plenty of books that fill that niche, but since then, but still, like those books are like what helped make me fall in love with the very concept of reading when I was a kid and like still grown up, and the fact that that author is now just revealed to have been just an unpleasant person, like it's just genuinely infuriating. So yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. So it's nice to know I'm not alone. I'm sure that there are other people who saw that and were like just as mad. And I know that it should be something that people are used to. It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
it's during Pride Month. During Pride Month, when you even if it's all corporate lip service with the rainbows, it's like during Pride Month. Couldn't you shut up for 30 days? You couldn't have just shut up for 30 days. Oh. I'm probably
Yeah.
gonna get roasted if I tag people on this, but honestly, I do not care because this is a thing that mattered a lot to me, and I think it really it's funny because I mean I made a cosplay and everything, but my roommate and all my friends are like, wow, you like this thing? And I'm like, I liked it for a long time. So in a way I didn't come out, but I admitted it came out as a fan of this thing, and right away it turned out to be garbage.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So anyway,
my
just shifting
yep,
the tone a bit more up,
shift in the tone.
hopefully. Yeah.
Thank you for letting me rant, my friend. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So I don't know. I guess I'll just continue where we left off with just our examples of the good stuff that we like, and
Yes.
just my favorite thing that I've just been taken advantage of, like pretty much since it came out, is that a game that I and many other people have been super excited for, especially since like its whole shtick is just like escaping and crafting a tropical island home with you and a bunch of giant-headed animal creatures. Is Animal Crossing New Horizons, and
Mm-hmm.
the thing I noted, just because I've realized just more and more as I've gotten older and more open about these types of things like certain fashion choices, that in the newest Animal Crossing game, like all of the clothes, you can any type of character can wear any clothes. Like the clothes are not like walled off by gender. And
Mm-hmm.
so, just I took advantage of that by just creating the second member of what has at this point become just a truly monstrous like original character family. Like I created like my Animal Crossing persona I've created as Medium Debbie, which is the son of Big Debbie, a character that I created based off of a one-off joke from the podcast My Brother and Me. And yeah, I've just taken advantage. Now, just like pretty much the only reason like I don't dress as the way I dress in Animal Crossing, which is basically like a like that one anime character, like a particularly colorful anime character, is literally just because as I don't have a house of my own yet, I don't have space, and clothes cost money. But just Like I always just like in Animal Crossing, you can dress how you want. All of the clothes instantly fit, and all of the characters. There's this one character, like one of the characters on my island is Sprocket, which is basically a robotic peacock, and just like
Mm.
no matter what clothes you're wearing, he always compliments them and say they look good and they really bring out your biceps because he's one of the ones that's all about fitness. And just as this headcanon of mine has gotten more and more out of control to the point where I've made Dungeons and Dragons character sheets based off of this original character family of mine. Like, I've just made my character Big Debbie, who, once I can go to conventions again, you'll see. Just imagine, just again, this is gonna sound like a rant, but it's my show. Just
Yeah.
imagine little Debbie, but 8 feet tall and built like Thanos, like built like the brick shit house that Thanos is, because that's just funny to me. And no, like they're married. Like I've made, like my other new favorite video game character from Pokemon Sword and Shield, Milo, like the grass gym leader, who just many
Mm-hmm.
people have fallen in love with because he is also friggin' jacked, but he's got like the sweetest baby face. And like that type of dissonance just hits people like a truck and it's hilarious.
Yeah, no, I love it.
And I'm just sending these to you in the chat just because I will take any chance I get to flap my gab about this. Like I commissioned a person a while ago to make fan art of of these characters and just make them as real as possible to the point where like a few of like one friend of mine just like knew me as Big Debbie first because I cosplayed as Big Debbie like at PAX a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just gave them all just individual pride flags again, just because, just to like further flesh it out, and just again, my favorite. Like, I'm not, I'm not sure how much this would count as representation since it exists only in my head. But I like this the latest one of the newer additions to like the like the Debbie family is like, have you played Bloodborne or heard of it?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this like the final boss of the Old Hunters DLC, which is the Orphan of Kos, which is basically an undead a literal baby who just happens to look like an undead old man because it's Bloodborne and no one looks like how people should look, which is not like a nightmare. And
This is what
just
we love about Bloodborne, though.
yeah, and just like the
No,
artist I commissioned, my favorite art of his is just of Little Debbie, just because he made it like so just small and adorable, and that type of like how in cartoons like those really little kids are just like look like they run on pure sugar and joy, and that's hilarious. And like again, in my head canon, Little Debbie is 8 years old and trans, and the orphan, of course, is I put like the non-binary flag behind him just because, is the undead offspring of some sort of nightmare creature born in the depths of an old person's nightmare, and just like one of my favorite things just in fiction in general is just like small or just young children befriending things that you normally wouldn't think. So the idea of this like 8-year-old child like becoming the big sister to this like horrible zombie corpse baby man is just hilarious to me, and just I just keep spinning, I just keep building this like story of the Debbie family in my head more and more, and just because like in the context of Bloodborne, the orphan of course his life was very short and miserable because it was quite literally born in a world that it didn't understand, literally had to just like birth itself out of its mom's like rotting corpse, which is disgusting because I'm remembering its opening cinematic. And as many people have pointed out that a lot of the sounds it makes just sound like just terrified screams and how it's basically just a wild animal. And
Mhm.
so just I had canon it like after it was killed off, like the Debbie family somehow found it and adopted it just because I like happy endings because we need more of them.
See, this
Eh,
this is what matters to me though, is that this is the sweet kindness of queer representation that we need to see. Because yeah, I love me some dark stuff, but at the same time, like, we deserve cute, cuddly, adorable things. And like that's that's all there is to it. Also, guys, this fan art is adorable. This fan art is adorable that Debbie is sending me, folks. This fan art is triply, triply adorable. Now,
eh, just wait till I show you. I find the picture of the greatest American Debbie, which is a
okay.
reference to a very old show.
I
And
know that show. I remember Greatest
yeah,
American.
and a friend of mine has also given me an idea for another character that I not only intend to commission when it's available, but also cosplay as because it's just hilarious to me. Just so Carolyn, just you're a fan of Resident Evil, and like you're also just one of the biggest fans of Giant Vampire Mom.
Yes,
So
Lady
the
Dimitrescu.
yeah, so the idea of like my friend gave me the idea of just like combining the Debbie family concept with Lady Demitrescu and Lady Demitrescu and create like Lady Demitrescu, and that's my next cosplay goal. Like that, the greatest American Debbie, which I feel like would be pretty easy to pull off since it's just like the costume and like a sun hat. And I'm not sure how I'd pull off Lady Debbie is true yet, but that's a goal. That's a life goal right there.
This is the world that we are fighting for, where people can get excited about that kind of stuff because it should be excited about. Anybody should be able to do that. I should be Heisenberg if I want to be, awesome machine man who literally just wants to get out of town, and she should be Lady Dimitrescu. So it's just like this is good. This is what we want.
Yeah,
So I unfortunately have to get going.
yeah.
So,
So
but yeah,
we
uh,
can just wrap it up right now.
sounds great. This is a lot of fun. Did you enjoy it? Because I really enjoyed myself.
I did.
Yay!
Just any excuse I can take anything to talk about the Debbie family, I will. But yeah, it's always nice to talk about. Like, yes, there's a lot of like representation. We all like anyone who pays attention to this sort of thing for any amount of time knows that like in every avenue of entertainment, it's just like the in terms of representing underrepresented groups, you can and like should do better. But yeah, it's a lot better than it was in the early days, even though we have a ways
Yes,
to go.
yes, indeed.
So yeah, this has been the Pumpkin Copter Cast. If those of you at home enjoyed it, you can like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you can be notified when I post a thing because everyone loves extra steps. If you for some reason have money and you would like to give me some after listening to me just ramble on about my original characters for way too long, you can go to
Do it.
Patreon.
Give him money. Give her money.
You can go to patreon.com/the Pumpkin Coptercast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can submit questions for me to use in future interviews on the times when I actually remember to notify my patrons about that. I promise I will do it for the next video. And yeah, speaking of Pride Month and queer themes and people and all that, if you want to go to like the most LGBT plus thing I've ever like created and been a part of, you can go to Gotta Recap 'Em All, a podcast where my friend Tom and I are slowly recapping just the entire Pokemon anime canon. And you might be thinking to yourself, the Pokemon anime isn't really LGBT plus, but it kind of is, considering that most of the people, like I'd say 75 to 80% of the people who have hosted and guested on the show are. Like, it's just slowly becoming it.
Yes, we are. We're taking
And
over.
yeah, and it's available pretty much everywhere you can get a podcast. And Carolyn, before we sign off, is there anything you want to plug to hell and back?
Let's see. You guys can always check me out on Twitter, Carolyn in Fandom on twitter.com. I have some pieces in the works at a couple of sites. Obviously, if you're following me, you'll get the first crack at that. Other than that, as I try to come back and bring you guys some news, thoughts, and opinions about everything Marvel, everything, film. And honestly, given how much fun I've been having, I might try a crack at doing some pitches on video games, because this is definitely, I do play more than I always end up thinking that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to Debbie, I've definitely been embracing that more. So, just give me a follow on carolyninfandom.com, or you can just follow me on Twitter. I'm mostly on Twitter.
Yeah. And yeah, you can find me on the Twitters, like at tgorman83, or if you just like search Big Debbie, that'll take you to me too. Where I post just like video game stuff, retweet stuff, and just like shamelessly plugging all the stuff I work on. So yeah, this has been the Pumpkin Copter cast. And as I am obligated to say at the end of every show now, because the catchphrase I was given by another semi-regular, have a gourd day, everyone.
Yes.